Is an organizer for United Association Local 230, which is the San Diego local of the United Association. He is a master instructor for the United Association Instructor Training Program. It's located in Santee. It's a wonderful facility. I would highly recommend people visit that. He is a co-chair of the California State Pipe Trades Veterans Association. He's a veteran himself and a member of the AFL-CIO Union Veteran Council. Go ahead, Sean.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. B, for the intro. So, hey, everybody, how you doing? I'm going to try to close my motivation because I got to set my timer here in about 2 seconds for this 7 minutes, okay? So before I get started, go ahead, next slide, please. Okay, awesome. I'm going to tell you a little story about the United Association. We've been active in this region since October 11th, 1889. We are the oldest labor union here in the San Diego and in Imperial County regions, right? So the United Association, refrigeration, plumbers, steam fitters, HVAC technicians of Local Union 230 is proud to be the oldest continuing operating craft union in San Diego, okay? Our members are the piping professionals that provide the San Diego community with the complex piping systems that unfortunately people are trying to take away. So what do we put in, everybody, right? We'll put in everything from the toilet that you use to take that sewage out to a sanitation processing facility. We install your high efficiency heat pumps. We do district thermal heating, and yes, I have members in industries of the fossil fuel industry. And the reason why, we're a stakeholder here, the reason why we're so active with our 2,500 members here locally is these members are going to lose their careers. These members are going to have significant change in their infrastructure. So today, we're going to talk about how we feel as a plumbing union, a labor union, where we can find solutions for electrification, how we can move forward. Next slide, please. Awesome, awesome. So what's the main goal for today, right? Like Dr. B and myself has had so many great conversations about this. The big thing is county-owned buildings, right? I do construction, everybody. The only thing the county can do with this regional decarbonization is to control the buildings that they have and to remodel them, to retrofit them, to make them more environmentally friendly. The truth is this, the majority of the private industry needs to decarbonize. So when we start to talk about what we're doing today, we're going to start talking about how the county needs to set the example, and choosing winners and losers, choosing one system over another system. Is it gonna suffice? As we'll talk about a little bit later, okay? Our community, we're gonna talk a little bit about the San Diego regional residents, our visitors, our businesses, right? I heard a lot today from two previous speakers, right? They talked about GHG emissions, right? The Electrification Coalition, okay? And they talked about GHG emissions and electrification, right? So that's for our community, but we also need to remember this. We have a big port. We have industry here. We have businesses that pay high amounts of taxes to really keep our system going, right? And as a union leader, we need to start asking, are we creating business models to decarbonize? If we're not doing that, then the private industry will never change, and there's no need to do it, because at the end of the day, the systems that we currently have can meet those demands. And so as the UA, we're going to start talking about that, how we can go more green, okay? Grid reliability. Our region just a few months ago was experiencing flex alerts. It's 2022, United States of America. We shouldn't be doing that, right? So we're gonna go over some systems and how we can alleviate those flex alerts, how we can do that, okay? Costs, there are fluctuating costs due to the gas global economy, right? I could talk for hours about Ukraine and the geopolitical field right now when it comes to natural gas and how it's actually affecting our national security, etc. But what we do here at the local level will start to pyramid all the way up to DC, let's be honest, right? And as San Diego, the 6th largest city in the country, one of the largest economies in California, what we do here, Dr. B, and so many great leaders here on this call, is going to set the example for the future, right? When we start to talk about these items. And then, we need to start talking about, if we're going to start looking at electrification, how does our infrastructure fit in? How does microgridding fit in? And how can we find these solutions? Okay, so next slide, please. Awesome. Okay, solutions, right? So let's just be honest, right? Circular economy. I can talk about that
It looks like there's an issue with your internet, Sean.
Sean, what happened to you?
We'll just give it a couple more seconds.
There he is.
All right, sorry about that, Dr. B. I don't know what happened there. I just lost the internet. So where did I leave off at before I was frozen in time?
Just keep going, Sean.
Okay, awesome.
Sounds
Thank you.
like-
Sorry about that. That was that was weird. Okay, so
Circular
we're going to talk
economy.
about today about fuel cell microgridding. Okay, we believe the future is going to be microgrids. If we're going to take decarbonization seriously and make an impact on GHGs, microgridding is the way where we can make significant small impacts in several areas using our systems. Okay, especially when we start to talk about hydrogen fuel cell technology that's coming online as we speak, that can help electrify the buildings that so many great leaders want to do here. So then I want to talk very briefly on district thermal energy. Okay, essentially everybody, what district thermal energy is the future. They're smart buildings. It's where buildings in downtown San Diego, or better yet, New York City, just passed a new ordinance and a new plan for district thermal heating. And so kind of when we talk about district thermal heating, it's essentially buildings communicating with each other in this new world to share loads of energy to go ahead and not use electric pumps and not use the electrical grid that we currently have. And so we'll hit that a little bit today. Okay, and then energy reduction. Okay, we're going to talk briefly about on-site water reuse. Okay, when we talk about building electrification, building decarbonization, you have to talk about wastewater. We have to talk about excesses at that point. Okay, we're going to talk about high efficiency heat pumps that we are currently building as we speak in colleges like UCSD. We just put some stuff in the airport the other day. So we'll talk a little bit about how that's going to be the future of heating and cooling smaller square space projects. Okay, it's not the answer for large scale projects, but it will be the answer for smaller scale projects. And then we're going to do waste recovery and geothermal energy. So next slide, please. Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about fuel cell microgrids. Okay. In my next few slides, there'll be an example of what they look like. Okay. Currently, right now, we're installing rooftop solar. They're installing battery energy, battery storage, which creates tons and tons of job from IBW brothers and sisters, iron workers, and so many building trades folks. But here's the fact. When we look at all of the above approach to decarbonization, those are jobs created for a significant amount of one labor union or two labor unions, while there's a whole section of labor movement that will not benefit from solar panels and battery storage. So where's our opinion? You need solar and batteries just as much as you need fuel cells. So let's talk about business models. Lithium is $77,000 per metric ton. So if you're going to start to electrify and we're going to start to do these items, you're going to increase the cost of living. As an example, San Onofre Nuclear Energy Station was shut down. That increased your guys' cost of bills 33%. That's what happened. Okay. When you start to shut down these peaker plants, when you start to shut down these fossil fuel natural gas plants, guess what's going to happen? You're going to increase the load demand for electricity and take away a baseload energy system. So what do you replace it with? What is the solution? The solution is fuel cell microgrids. These are items that are literally the same dimension as a battery pack that already use the very same infrastructure with either a blended or renewable natural gas substance to then go into the fuel cell and create renewable green electricity to then be wired into the building for your electrification of your county building or your project, while you're still using the same infrastructure, lowering the cost of construction and maintaining baseload energy. Here's the facts. When the sun goes down and the wind goes away, your power goes away with intermediate power. When you use fuel cell technology, we can run that constantly. Okay. And when we plug in, and Dr. B is going to go, we're talking about building electrification. Well, if you do fuel cells connected to your building electrification and do a waste to fuel plant with renewable green hydrogen or renewable green natural gas, now you have your circularity, right? So now you throw your piece of trash away, goes to a processing center, sends a green sustainable source of fuel to a fuel cell to then electrify your city. What's so cool about these projects is that we can actually put them in neighborhoods and power whole neighborhoods with these new Bloom Energy fuel cells, okay? It's gonna lower your emissions, okay? It's gonna take away the fact that you are gonna slowly transition a industry, not the workers. You're gonna transition a industry to a more sustainable, greener, sustainable fuel while not losing the plumbers and pipe fitters that install your natural gas. So we'll install the pipeline to the fuel cell. The fuel cell will create the green electricity to electrify your building. We'll do on-site water reuse, and now you have a full circular item. And I haven't even talked to you about what you can do with district thermal heating and wastewater and how we can create energy from that item as well. What the output is always going to be reliable electricity, reliable. These are items that can run constantly while still providing that electricity. Here's the facts. You are going to use dirty natural gas at nighttime when your solar and wind does not work. And battery packs, well, like I said, we don't have any lithium and they're in war-torn countries, right? Which is increasing the cost of the global demand of lithium and rare metals, to say the least, right? So when we talk about costs, the goal of this workshop is to not only decarbonize and be green and as green as we can, but to ensure that we're lowering the bills for the community, okay? When we start to think about this at the full picture, you have to understand, if you do not create business models, if you do not look out for lowering the cost and doing that, then this is all just going to be hot wind and a bunch of talking, okay? Next slide, please. Okay, awesome. So we'll start talking about Bloom Energy. Okay, we have a contractor, ADCO, one of our largest contractors here in San Diego, installed these hydrogen fuel cells here in San Diego State University. Okay, there's an example of where we're actively doing it in our region. Okay, Staples Center inside Los Angeles is actually being ran. That whole facility is being ran 100% off of fuel cell technology at the Staples Center in downtown Los Angeles. USD is running this. We install this. Our members install this. So does it work? Yeah, it works. We're installing it. Okay. Odds are, if you take a look at your cool Tesla chargers, I bet you there's a hydrogen fuel cell powering it. All right, so these items are here. They're getting better every single day. And if you take a look gander at it, those of you that are not in construction, they look familiar, right? They look like battery packs, don't they? So they're the same dimensions. They could be put in the same applications. And here's the cool thing about hydrogen fuel cell. The plumbers and pipe fitters install them. We run the pipe to them, and guess who runs them in the building? Electricians. That's work for everybody. Laborers move the unit, and all we need to ensure at this time, everybody, is that there's good labor provisions on the work being done, okay? So there's an example of what we want to see, right? The San Diego, University of San Diego campus consumes a lot of energy during times that solar installation does not provide electricity, and the fuel cell allows the university to further reduce its emissions in a cost-effective source. Going right back to your second presenter, which was talking about, hey, if you electrify and we start to build, we increase the cost, we increase costs, right? On not only the constructors, the business that eventually buys that property, but eventually it makes its way down to the next, to the people, okay? Next slide, please. Awesome, awesome. So right here is an example of what the UA International is pushing across the country, okay? So just to kind of give you guys an understanding of who we are, we're an international union like every other labor union. You guys will probably run into your significant spaces. Way we see this decarbonization framework and how important this meeting is today and so many other workshops is high efficiency performance strategies and buildings are the wave of the future. And when we start to talk about where we're going in the future, we need to talk about jobs, okay? Can the utility worker, a gas pipe fitter, have that transition into an industry that is greener using bioenergy instead of what we've used in the past, okay? Can the cost lower energy bill? Can that building actually lower the cost of the energy when it comes to the consumer, when it comes to the developer, when it looks at the full picture of what we're going to do in that building, right? We want safe, reliable, consistent energy flow. Okay. Right now, we don't have consistent energy flow in our systems. That's why we have flex alerts. Okay. All right. Health. Does it improve indoor and outdoor quality air? Is it combusting inside? With your fuel cells, when these new systems coming on that are changing per project, let me be clear, okay? High performance building strategies are based off your building, your project of where you are. So what you do in San Diego can be different when you just move a city over to Encinitas, okay? And vice versa in this region. So it's really important that we truly understand where we're going with that, okay? So thermal energy exchange, geothermal exchange heat pumps, okay? Geothermal heat pumps use 25 to 50% less energy than their electric counterparts, okay? So when we talk about consuming energy, we got to have that conversation. Is electric heat pumps, they are very efficient if you have the electricity to get there, right? To operate these heat pumps constantly. If you don't, then you have an issue. Now you're going to run into a load issue. And so when we talk about what's good for downtown, right? When we talk about what can work there, well, you got a lot of buildings and you got the ground that can actually produce the cooling and heating for that building. And I'll put all this in the chat, Dr. B, I'll send it all to you because to talk about building decarbonization is to literally talk about the umbrella that covers this area and so many industries that are tied into it, okay? Heat transfer between buildings. What geothermal energy does is that when buildings cooling and heating, or when buildings heating and it doesn't require that heating, it sends it through a primary loop system to a different building that may need that heating, and it transfers the load transfer over, okay? Creating tons of jobs for every trade, for every community, and to build our great programs, okay? And then we'll go a little bit, we talk about wastewater energy exchange. That's a pretty tough topic because those are going to be very specific systems in every particular project where essentially when you use the restroom, you send it down the pipe, there's a lot of methane in there. There's a lot of sources of energy in there that can be reharnessed, reprocessed, and used to heat and cool a building depending on the system, okay? Next slide, please. All right. Okay, geothermal technology. When we talk about geothermal technology here in an urban environment, a lot of people think of geothermal as Lithium Valley, Kern County, brine coming out, using that to process lithium or rare metals, etc. But what a lot of people don't realize is that you could do geothermal energy underneath your building, inside your neighborhood. I always tell people this, in our decarb, we're going to build a lot of parks. That's a lot of room for piping that can literally use the ground to transfer heat. And I'll give you a really cool, somewhat of a simplistic way of looking at it, because I am a pipe welder, guys. All right, I'm not a scientist here, but your ground maintains the degrees of 55 degrees, right? So it's 55 degrees, never changes, doesn't matter where you're at in the world. That's a constant level of temperature that can then be used to transfer BTUs or British thermal units to heat and cool. So as we look at it, according to the NRDC, geothermal technology has been around for decades. This ain't something new, okay? It's been around for decades. Matter of fact, the Egyptians used it to heat and cool, by the way. Connecting buildings via underground pipes to joint thermal loop fed and shared geothermal well field. So what does that really mean to you guys? There's a primary loop that stays underground, that heats and cools, that adjusts to the pressure, the temperature of the land. Then we have a secondary loop per building that then switches the energy, okay? That's essentially what that means, from an installer's perspective, okay? A variety of names are being used to describe this concept, including district thermal or district loop heating, okay? Kind of give you guys another great example of what we've done on that. Oh, I'm getting time checked. I'm sorry, guys, but we've done it with steam in the past, okay? So some of these pipes are already there. Next slide, please. I knew that was going to happen, Dr. B. I love this. Okay, so these are some slides. I am always available for coffee and to talk about these slides. These are all government-based research, evidence-based research of what's happening currently right now across our country. So, hey, I think I got everything in, Dr. B. You can cut me off now. I know I'm beyond my 5 to 7 minutes, so I love what I do. And then there's my contact information. Take a picture of it. See me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I will love to have a tough conversation with those who disagree, because that's how we're going to move forward, everybody. So thank you for your time and the privilege of speaking, Dr. B. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Sean. You sure love what you do. It was amazing. Okay, so I will skip my first question. It was about the ideas, because you have so many ideas in this presentation that our team will need to go over all of them to kind of put them into our implementation playbook. We'll also be posting your presentation so others can access it. And also, all your slides are so unique. They're you probably need to give a slide instruction on how to prepare all this 3D visualization in a PowerPoint.
Well, don't give me too much credit, Dr. B. I needed help from my wife. That's the truth. I'm a welder, not a computer expert.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I'll go to my first question. This is about the gaps in our knowledge base, and you focused on my favorite topic, the district thermal energy, district heat pumps, and you highlighted how this is not imperial. We're not talking about geothermal resources that we need to tap into. This is just the temperature differential in the ground beneath our feet. So the earth provides for us.
Yep.
And when we think of new, I'm thinking of new projects right now, but you can also correct me if it's kind of something that can be done in, say, downtown or like La Jolla, UTC area, or high density mixed development, infill development. So between, like, how do we get this to scale to actually make a difference
Absolutely.
in our region?
Absolutely, brother. Easy question. I thought your question was going to be a little bit harder, but this is a real easy question. Right now, with so many propositions and money coming in for road work, there's your opportunity. We're going to open up these roads to make them smarter, more efficient, and greener. There's your opportunity to put these systems in. Okay. Just so everybody knows that's watching this workshop, when you're on a timeline, you're trying to get everything in, but now I feel way more comfortable talking about this. So that being said, as we are redoing our infrastructure, as we're removing freeways and opening them up and adding more bike lanes in downtown and creating all of these great opportunities that I agree with, shoot, I can't wait to get an electric bike and go zoom right through downtown. But as we're doing this, right, we need to start thinking so outside of the box that we almost go back to what we did in the old days. So let me give you an example, right? So I can kind of tie it in. New York City, San Diego, back in the early 20s had steam loops throughout your city. So essentially you ran one steam loop, right, which provided tons of energy, which will then break into buildings and then provide that energy. But when natural gas came out oh so long ago, we found out that it was cheaper. That's all that happened, was that somebody found out it was cheaper to use natural gas. Now, here's where we're at. We have members in the natural gas industry, but I also have members in the bioenergy industry and in district thermal heating, which we're doing that work currently in other cities, especially on the East Coast, where they can use that temperature of the ground that's already giving you to transfer the heat at wintertime very, very efficiently. So when we're talking about decarbonization, it's not just electrification that can help you heat and cool. It's utilizing that items now. So to kind of answer your question without 6,000 words, as we are starting to open up these roads, as we are starting to create bike lanes, as we're starting to create these parks, which are very important on the framework, which are very important to so many stakeholders here, we need to put these pipe systems in with the skilled and trained workforce. And the reasoning for that is these can be anything from steam systems. It could be a lot, right? To sit there and give you an answer right now of what it can be, it would be incorrect, because it would be based off of what engineers feel and what the heat transfer needs to be per project, per building, or per sector of the city. And so to give you an answer on what substance we can use and what system we can use, I can't do that. That's going to be a whole group of us to have to do that, from business to Dr. B and all that. But as we're building, we can do it now with these systems. So
thank you, Sean. That's optimism, this hope that, we can decarbonize and at the same time do it in a not just a humane way, but build up our workers and our communities. Because climate action and clean economy can occur in a hand in hand. And in the vein of that, in that vein, our workforce development study, authored by Dr. Carol Sabin, Bethany Jones, discusses high road partnerships. So my question then is to you, what potential role do you see the county playing in bringing everyone to the table to develop these kind of high road partnerships?
Well, first and foremost, doctor, you're doing it now. Okay, let's be honest, everybody. There's people on this call right now that will fundamentally not see eye to eye with me, but we're having a discussion. So what can the county do? Well, you did it with the RDF. You're doing it with the workshop. And so as we move forward, we need to have these tough conversations. And I challenge everybody on this call to really have these tough conversations. Take away your hat. You know, I want to tell people as we're looking at this, you're already doing it. The RDF has already specified exactly what we need to do. When you guys are putting on the playbook, or I'm sorry, the framework, it's there. The workshops are there. What we need to do as a society, as people, as leaders of our stakeholders that we currently have, we need to have these hard conversations. We need to have leadership, and we need to start thinking about what we can do to do demonstration projects. I give you a great example. You have a humongous port there that is one of the most hardest to decarbonize, right? Heavy industry. There's an opportunity to use those fuel cells. Okay. When we looking at the infill areas and the vehicle miles traveled, that's all gone through. And as we look at that, there is an opportunity as we are opening up the streets in downtown for the county or our great leaders at the Board of Supervisors to say, hey, so since it's open, instead of running or as we rip out these natural gas pipelines, let's go ahead and put district thermal heating in and start doing these demonstration projects. So to answer your question without 6,000 words, you guys are already doing it. We're having these tough conversations. We're having meetings on this. We're doing workshops, and you know it's going to be a process, but I think it's going to be a process that's going to lead us into the future. And I think at the end of the day, we're going to find consensus because we don't have a choice, everybody. Mars is pretty far and Venus isn't survivable. So, you know, it's going to be, we have to come to consensus, everybody. And transitioning workers isn't the answer. Transitioning industry, transitioning the very culture of how we produce power is how we're going to do it, not getting rid of careers. So
thank you very much, Sean. On that really high note, we need to look for partnerships with industry, labor, and we'll continue this effort, this conversation. We're really encouraged by the support we receive all around from a variety of stakeholders in this process so far, and we want to now move towards implementation action. So appreciate your time, and